Viewers, it's been a while since we had Abhijit Iyer-Mitra on our channel, and we figured that it's about time we called him in for his views on what is playing out in these discussions between India and China on the withdrawal or disengagement, if you will, on the line of actual control. Abhijit, as always, a pleasure to have you on our channel. Namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram, belated happy Diwali and Joy Ma Kali, happy Kali Pujo to everyone.
Thank you very much, and same to you, Abhijit. We know that you are a true Sanatani. You believe in a lot of things, and I think I really like your spirit. You embody what is what everybody looks for in a person of your caliber. A true Sanatani fighting Virat Hindustan's Virat spirit. So, no, I mean it. I'm not making any jokes here. I know you know it too. So, take it away and help us understand a little bit about what is happening in this disengagement talk. Why should India trust China's words, having been betrayed so many times in the past? And what is different about this time?
So there's nothing different about this time. What you're looking at the disengagement talks is always, every disengagement talk everywhere are phased withdrawals of forces, right? You go through the motions, which is first you reduce the number of backup, then you slowly reduce the number of forward troops, and you have demarcated areas to which certain troops will withdraw and what force levels you should have, what the verification mechanism should be, drone, satellite, whatever, or physical patrols or whatever, right? So what's happening here is just that. Sequentially, you are reducing the numbers. Now, the issue is we are building up our infrastructure out there. The Chinese already have infrastructure out there. So for them, disengagement means status quo, which is that the differential that they have superior infrastructure will remain and nothing should change that. Our thing on the disengagement is that all disengagement should be equal or equivalent. That is, we will have equivalent infrastructure to equivalent distances. And the troop withdrawal is separate from infrastructure. So we want to decouple infrastructure from troop withdrawal. They want to link troop withdrawal to infrastructure. And that's the main thing out there.
Now, so help us understand a little bit. How long have Chinese been building up on what they see as their side of the LAC? Because LAC itself is like a line drawn in the sand, isn't it?
Yeah, they've been building up at least since about 1997. I mean, look, even in 62, they had better infrastructure, right? They've always been about infrastructure. That's a standard. One good thing about communists is they don't understand economics when it comes to infrastructure. So they always put infrastructure in, a road to nowhere, a hospital for nobody, a school for clouds or whatever. They don't care about it. They'll build the infrastructure. And so for them, it's always been infrastructure. We are playing catch up, and that catch up only started sometime in 2014 after Modi got elected. And that's a very, very important shift that's come about, which they are now trying to undo. They hadn't solidified their strategy at the time of Doklam, but now it seems to be, from everything we're hearing about the leaks coming out of the talks, it's very, very clear that from day one, the negotiating position of the Chinese has been to get rid of Indian infrastructure in that region. They don't want to see Indian infrastructure in that region. And that is the game plan that they are playing out too. Now, they obviously have massive infrastructure out there, but also remember, I think I've said this on the program before, they're in a much more difficult situation than we are. Because warfare is changing from ground-centric to air-centric warfare, the more infrastructure, if you're a ground planner, more Chinese infrastructure is very dangerous to you. But if you're an air planner, more Chinese infrastructure is a dream come true for you because it means you've got more things to bomb. Right. So you've got 100 bombs. Now you also have 100 targets. Before you only had 5 targets and you were like, what the hell am I going to do with the remaining 100 bombs? Right. So now you have more targets. There is also the differential that we take off on average from airstrips that are about 1,000 feet high that don't impose logistical problems or weight problems or range problems on our aircraft. They, on average, the average height of a airbase in Tibet, in Chinese Tibet, is something like 11 to 12,000 feet, which means massive, massive restrictions on aircraft. Even civil aircraft. I'm not even talking about narrow body, low performance aircraft. I'm talking about high powered, wide body aircraft like the Airbus A330 face significant restrictions landing in Tibet. They've got to keep 1/3 free. Your baggage allowance is reduced and 1/3 of the aircraft has to be kept free. So if you look at the A330 of Air China, the economy class is divided into 3 segments. So business is full, the first segment is full, the second segment is only kept half full, the third segment is kept almost entirely empty. Right. So this is something you can verify. I mean, you can't verify things with military aircraft, but I would invite people to go to Tibet and check these things out for themselves. So there's a sort of disparity in terms of geography. So even if their infrastructure is better, we have to account for air warfare versus ground warfare and what that implies.
Now, I have read that in the recently concluded visit of Mike Pompeo and Dr. Mike Esper, that the Americans have made available about 105 planes for Indian use. I don't know how true that is. And if that is true, where are those planes?
I don't know what this is about. Like, I haven't read this, so I don't think we'd even take them up on the offer. It's not like we've got some paucity of helicopters or planes lying around. So, and even if we did take them up, starting to suddenly use, depending on the aircraft, I don't know if they're combat aircraft or whatever, suddenly starting to use them would be highly problematic. You require a lot of training. You need a lot of logistics backup and things like that. I don't think it'll work. Every time we have these talks, you hear these fantastical stories and things like that. It never works.
Well, okay, so we don't think that there's any truth in that. Be that as it may, it's all right. Now, in terms of even disengagement and pulling troops back for India, India probably spent a lot of money putting people there, the infrastructure in place. Why should India even pull back? Why can't they just ride out the rough winter and see what happens in spring? Keep talking, don't say anything.
So remember, the pullback is merely to positions as they existed sometime around uh, October or so, 20 yeah, uh, May, June of 2020. That's it.
No, that
Okay.
means India already lost some. Then they already incursed by that time.
No, 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 no. So what we're looking at is infrastructure as of May 2020 will
Hmm.
remain, which is to say a large base past Finger 8 or in Pangong on the Chinese side, and a large Indian base built in 2014 at between Finger 3 and 4 on the Indian side, right? What has happened since then is Finger 4, which had
Sure.
already been lost in 1998. Well, the eastern part of Finger 4 that had been lost in 1998, the Chinese had started building all kinds of things out there. And that we can verify through satellite imagery has actually stopped about a month or 2 months back. It has stopped. There has been some dismantling that has taken place, though not withdrawal. So that those are the modalities being discussed. I think what the Chinese, from what we could see that the Chinese were doing on satellite, was that they were trying to put up infantry picket posts all across the line of actual control as defined by Google Maps.
Hmm.
And the Google Maps line, as we understand it, is pretty damn accurate, because that is what it was apparently discussed in accordance with what the government of India wanted. So that is apparently the official line.
I think I remember you telling this, that Google spent a fair amount of time getting okayed with where they were placing the line of actual control along the line. I think we did this in a previous discussion. So please go ahead.
Exactly, and it
Yeah.
was it was basically taken off. The Home Ministry apparently took it off the Ministry of Agriculture, which did agricultural surveys across that entire area, right? So that's the basis of that line.
Okay. Great. So what is your prognosis? What's going to happen? You think by the time even there's something that they're going to sign, what do you think will happen?
What I think is going to happen is what happened at Doklam, pretty much a prolonged standoff. It will go through winter. I don't see it sorting out over winter, and in about 5, 6, 7 months, say March, April, May of next year, there will be some kind of preliminary accord where India will not back down on infrastructure. So that infrastructure will and this is good. This is where prolonging the disengagement helps us, because we can say that as long as talks are on, infrastructure building will continue, which is why the infrastructure building is happening at such a rapid pace that I've literally, we can see roads being built as from a month before to now. We can actually see those roads being built. The only reason I'm not sharing those images of India with the viewer is because it's very tricky ground. I can share anything that's happening in China. If I share something that happens in India, I don't know when I'll be thrown in jail again, because that becomes sensitive information, blah blah, yak yak yak. There's all kinds of official secrets act nonsense about it. It's a risk you really don't want to take. So what happens is prolonging this helps us in that sense that you end up building your infrastructure and say, okay, now we accept a status quo in infrastructure. There will be no change in infrastructure now, but we withdraw to where we were in March 2020.
Well, that's a start, because at least you'd have undone one salami slice that they were trying to take. And let's hope that your prophecy comes true.
Remember, Sree, the problem with salami slicing is it's never direct,
Hmm.
right? The when the salami, when it gets sliced, the attack actually comes from somewhere else. So what we sort of achieved at Doklam was squandered completely at Wuhan under
Can
this
you
nonsense
expand
of.
on that a little bit, please?
Sure. So basically, what happened was we prevented, even though it wasn't Indian territory, it was Sikkimese territory, disputed with Sikkim, not disputed with India. In Doklam, the Chinese were building a road. We stopped them from building it. We did not allow them to proceed. A few months later, there is this Wuhan summit where Modi goes to China, gets awed by Xi Jinping, falls for some nonsense called the Wuhan spirit, which turns out to be more toxic than any coronavirus. And lo and behold, literally within weeks, the Chinese start building that road again.
That
And
road
they
goes
finish
through
it.
where? Is it Chinese side of LAC
It's
or?
just Chinese. Well, I mean, technically it's Sikkimese territory as far as I'm concerned, but it's basically a road that they build along their infrastructure. Like I said, it doesn't need to be a road to anywhere.
Hmm.
It's a road to. It's just a logistics supply road marking their territory, saying this is a Chinese road. Therefore, because possession is 9/10 of the law, so it's like going into a like a dog going and pissing on its territory.
I was going to
It's
say
like,
that.
yeah. So it's like you going hijacking somebody's land and building your house on it. That's what they're doing basically. It's to show that this is Chinese territory. So they build it as close to the border as possible. And it has an important function in that you can beef up logistics anytime you want. So that is what has happened out there in Doklam. Well, it happened. What was I can't say it was one. What was stalemated in Doklam was lost in Wuhan. Let's see. They always say that it takes just 10 minutes of meeting between to world leaders to undo 10 years of careful diplomatic spade work. I'm waiting with, I have to say, this absolutely frightful constipation for Modi's next meeting with Xi Jinping, because I don't know how many years worth of hard work he's going to give up at his next meeting.
Well, let's hope that that doesn't happen, and that Mr. Modi has learned his lesson, and he's now a changed man. I mean, we can debate this till the cows come home, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But thanks for your insights, Abhijit. As always, a pleasure talking to you, and we will stay tuned on this topic, and we'll be back again in a few weeks' time as these things go to the next level. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Joy Ma Kali, and please remember, burst lots of firecrackers. Firecrackers are good for you, they are good for the family. Lots of families depend on them. And remember, the gold you wear or the private jets or SUVs you drive consume a lot more, do a lot more pollution than any firecrackers do. So please burst firecrackers and subsidize families in Shivakashi. Joy Ma Kali. Thank you.
Thank you.